Hello everybody, my name is Captain Dreadbeard, and today we are taking a short review of the Rogue Prince of Persia. Before we jump right in, I want to thank Ubisoft a lot for sending me an early review key to this game. I was able to play for a couple hours these past 2 days, and am now at a point where I think I can give you some of my initial thoughts, my impressions, and I guess some sort of insight on what this installment of the Prince of Persia series is like. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. I'm gonna show you a bit of the surrounding information about the game, who developed this game, what is the art style like, how is the music, the sounds, what is the gameplay like? I guess the main concern. What does it remind me of? Where do I see a connection to previous titles? And what does the game feel like as a person like me who sadly never really got in touch with the Prince of Persia series? I have not played the original or the trilogy that is what made Prince of Persia the famous thing it is today. So I'm going somewhat blind into this installment, and yeah, I have a couple of thoughts about this. Let's go. What is the Rogue Prince of Persia? The Rogue Prince of Persia is a 2D fast-paced action platforming roguelite developed by Evil Empire, who you might know as the acclaimed developer behind Dead Cells, which is a aspect that I did feel slightly when playing this game. I haven't played Dead Cells in years already, I guess. I think it might have been back in 2018, so I cannot draw any proper comparisons because I just didn't have the time to actually download that game again and test it to see what the developers did convert to this game and what they did not. But it definitely has some of the feelings I had in that game conveying in this as well. It might just also be the genre, which I'm not too familiar with because I did not play that many of these type of games. Nonetheless, this game is all about smoothness, I think is how I will describe it. It was developed in the Unity engine, which is also something that for people who have worked with that engine can be felt at some points. But that is not me saying anything bad or good specifically coming out of that, it's just sometimes you can feel the engine that's being used without actually knowing what it is. The main crux of the game is improvement. Be it you as a player improving, learning patterns of your enemies, knowing what ability works well with what accessory and that stuff. But the whole story element revolves around you dying, starting over, progressing further. You meet NPCs who will help you later down the road. You discover more lore, which is neatly packed into a mind map for you to look at. And characters will tell you different things depending on how often you restarted. The main story is that the prince is on a quest for redemption because the Han have invaded the country. He went into battle, lost, got captured, and then escaped with his trusty Smith and ended up at the Oasis 3 days after the Huns have invaded a major city. And from that point on, you start on trying to move to the first boss, start over, try again. and progress from there. The story aspects in the game are, sadly, in my current build at least, I don't know what it will be like in early access or after 1.0, are not voiced over. So it's purely dialogue that you can read. But you can see charm to the characters, having their personality, and you quickly realize the connection between the prince and the characters he encounters, which is something I'm glad that they managed to convey for someone like me who sometimes gets bored by stories and skips them. But this time I did read through a couple of them. I will not go into detail about it because I want you to be able to experience that yourself, because there might also be different approaches on how to unlock different parts of the story, because you won't take the same path as me, most likely, on your progression. That's to the story. As I just said, the game launches in early access, so you will not have the full experience that the developers want to give you yet. But the developers said that they are aiming to double the amount of content that is currently in the game, roughly 15 hours of gameplay, and make that available to the people by 1.0, with more levels, weapons, bosses, enemies, story, progression, all that kind of stuff. They won't do that in one jump, obviously, between early access and 1.0. They will iterate, improve, and add to the game. So look forward to that, engage with the developers as well. They want to listen to the community, want to hear what they have to say, what they want improved, and so on. Let's quickly talk a bit about the content. You might or might not know that in these type of games it's all about the player building their own path. The game doesn't give you a set combination of things to use to progress through the game. It's about your own playstyle. You can do that by choosing between different main weapons that you can earn on your run. You don't start with various weapons, but you can unlock them and discover them in a run. These weapons can themselves be of different value. You might have double dagger combination, which is a fast-paced single target, or you might have a huge axe with slow attacks, slow swings, but the ability to stun your enemies, or multiple at that. Currently, in the build I have, I think as well, there are 2 boss encounters. I only met 1 yet. I will not go into too much detail about the boss. I might show a clip at the end with a spoiler warning. If you don't want to see any fighting of the boss, don't worry. I will put a disclaimer just before. But just know the bosses are, for me at least, right now in a good state, because they are not super easy. But it doesn't feel impossible. I just have to learn. I have to adapt. I have to understand the game and its mechanics better to handle this boss. And I think that's a neat thing to achieve these 10 to 15 hours of gameplay, because I have the time to unlock and learn I think it was 30 different trinkets and their combinations, which means that these trinkets, for one, have their own ability. Some might make a goo on the floor if you vault or kick or stun an enemy. Others might set enemies on fire with the same conditions. But what if you have both of those equipped at the same time? Well, you might make a fiery goo pit under the enemy, as an example. Or poison. goo, which is what I discovered quite near the end of my testing before recording this. And there are multiple different ways you can use trinkets, but you also have to micromanage them a bit, because these trinkets have the ability to be upgraded or upgrade others by assigned slots. So if I have a trinket in this first slot, which upgrades 2 other trinkets to its right, I don't want to put a trinket here that can't be upgraded, or just upgrades the left one and that one can't be upgraded. I might just want to put that to the end. That is something you might have to learn, may want to create a cheat sheet for yourself to understand what you're aiming for. But just know there are countless possibilities of how to make your character and how to progress the game. You're not bound by a red path. Another thing that encourages player progression is the fact that levels are procedurally generated. You have rooms that are the same, obviously. You have some form of prefabs, especially the ones story-bound, you will recognize. And I think some of the puzzle rooms are big prefabs that you can enter. You might see that in one of the gameplays I will show you behind me or after me talking. You have these shining doors which you can enter throughout the levels, randomly scattered. And in these doors you can find item chests, fountains, shops, forges, or mazes or challenge levels. And these challenge levels pre-made, obviously. You have different ways of progressing through the game, or playing through the game, because you start with the oasis, the thing that it's basically your main hub, your main menu as well. So if you press escape, even after launching the game or when you quit the game, you will just see the oasis and your prince sitting there. And from this oasis you can choose a starting level, but after this level you can also go to the second level of the other starting level, and so on. So you can choose and go between, depending on which level feels good to you and what kind of progress in the story you might have made in that area. So it's worth checking out everything, especially considering some of these levels might just be locked behind story to progress into. You have the ability to find, like I said, equipment chests or other chests which will give you a random item. You might have sacrificing altars which demand your HP to give you a random new weapon, for example. You have different level mechanics, from your standard swing bar to ropes you can climb, to also the aqueduct level, which has water slopes you can slide down, or will slide down rather. You have the academy, which is in my opinion, very neat level, because you have to get through the level and find a specific point in that to unlock the exit. You have different traps, enemies, collapsibles, and all that kind of thing. And you also have the ability to fast travel within the level. So say you found a shop, but you didn't have the money you needed to upgrade your weapons or buy a new one. Well, just find one Well of Dreams and travel back to where your shop was, if you so desire to. You have different story characters, which, as I mentioned, I don't want to get into too much, but all these characters have their own connection to the prince, and you can see that throughout the conversations of the two. And you also have secondary characters which are important for the game, but they're basically like the in-level shop where you can buy items, or with Forge with a blacksmith. They also have their background with the prints and everything. Let's see, what do I want? I'm trying to balance what to spoil and what not in this review, as you might know, I've never done this before, so please bear with me as I'm trying to go through my writings to see what I was trying to talk about. Let's talk weapons again, just to go with that, because you will see them in the footage, no matter what. I personally do enjoy the tabard, the axe weapon, and the royal sword. It's a single one. A lot, though the tabard is something that I don't know if I should put it as a negative point or if it's just not me. But I oftentimes have the issue when playing the game that once I encounter more than 3 enemies, sometimes 3 has the same issue, but there's this mechanic of kicking your enemy into another enemy or a wall to stun them, because some of them have shields which can only be destroyed by stunning them or kicking you can't kick them, so you either have to kick another enemy into them or you have to dive attack them. But my main issue often with these multiple enemy encounters is the fact that my kick only affects one character, stops at the second, and then there's a third one in the middle of it, but my attacks sometimes don't reach them, so I get damaged for just not being able to reach them. Which, of course, a player issue, I could avoid it, but I also had the issue that I sometimes just didn't see which of the enemies is actually attacking me, which is in range of attacking me. Which is especially an issue with these spear guys in the earlier levels, which can attack upwards if you jump above them forwards. Because these guys sometimes manage to hit me, where other times they didn't, so sometimes it was quite rough for me to estimate if I'm safe or not. Which, like I said, it most likely will be a player issue, which is something that I obviously can avoid, but I also don't know if it's just the testing version that some things are not perfect. Like I said, it's a preview version, it's not the actual early access version. Some things could have changed until you see this video. The tools, your secondary weapons. I might have slightly mentioned them, but let's talk more about them. You start off with a classical bow, and you use energy to shoot them. There's a lot of medallions or other things to gain a lot of energy if you do so, if you dare to get them. And you have a variety of different tools. For example, the chakram, the circular blade, which goes through enemies and back, or the stealth assault, which is a sword I recently unlocked, and that makes me able to teleport towards or pull me towards an enemy at a fixed distance. I think in the description in the game it said teleport behind an enemy, but it's actually a pull towards it. Sure. My issue with the secondary weapon, which most likely also, obviously, all the things I might mention bad, which are not bugs specifically or anything, which I haven't encountered as well. I have not encountered any bugs. I have encountered weird scenarios or some tricky animation moments induced by myself. But the secondary weapons, I feel like I'm oftentimes in a point where I just can't properly utilize them, because either I use them too much and am completely out of energy, or I just don't have the time to use them. That's a me issue. The other thing is the heavy attack, which I would put more on the game, because to activate your heavy attack you have to hold the button pressed, which in turn does a light attack first, and then your heavy attack gets charged, and then you have to release to actually do it. If the moment allows it, you can make some very smooth looking fight scenes where you do your combo of 3 attacks, where the third is already your charge for the heavy attack. But more often than not, I have a feeling that it takes too long to actually get the heavy attack charge to use it, even against normal enemies if it's more than one. I don't know how one could improve it, but that's just a thing I personally found a bit weird. I also don't know what it was like for me in games like Dead Cells, but just take that as a point of myself. Let's talk resources real quick before I will let you guys off. Resources are there, I guess. You have your gold, you have your health, and you have something called Spirit Glimmers. Gold, which I'm very happy about. No matter how you kill the enemy, the gold will just come to you. You kick him off a cliff and he falls for a minute or two, you will still gain gold. Health, I think it's a fair system they use for the health, but more often than not, the fact that the health restoration with your flask takes so long is the reason why I don't, or just did not think of using it, because I never felt, for example in a boss fight, I had the moment to actually be stationary for, I think, 3 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, not quite sure what the actual time is to use it, to heal myself. And I only have 1 of the flask. The 1 flask is fair, because you do get a recharge in every new level, but you only get 1, and you might be able to heal if you find a shop or a special room. But that's just the thing. In a boss fight, with the first boss, I was struggling a lot. Basically because I was just playing with 1 health bar. There are moments, I still haven't fully figured out the boss yet, so there are probably more moments where I could actually heal myself. But I only have 2 health bars, and I don't know of any way currently to increase your max health. At least I haven't actually found something yet. So it might just be that I just haven't played enough yet to be able to allow it, which feels like a weird lock the game in. Or I just don't know the patterns well enough yet to actually fight the boss with just 2 health bars. But it is rough. I don't think it should be changed. Maybe there could be an option for an easier game mode where you have 2 health potions, but I don't know. Just an idea. Maybe some people wanted to be able to finish the game if they struggle with it. I don't personally think it is too bad that you can't finish it, but sometimes when learning a game like this, it feels quite rough if you don't have that much of a chance because you're dead after 4 attacks, for example. But yeah. And I guess with that, I probably have talked way too long already. Thank you very much for watching. I will show you now, in a couple of seconds, a piece of a boss fight. If you don't want to watch it, I will put a time mark here to let you know when the boss fight is over. Please give me some feedback on the type of review, because I know I was just rambling down, and I'm not fully sure what's gonna be shown behind me yet. I have a lot of footage recorded of the game, but I'm probably not gonna cut it up immensely, just with very shameful moments, or if I want to show something specific. But I hope you got some insight about the game. I hope I could help you decide on the game if you want to buy it. And yeah, if you have any wishes, if you want to see actual me playing the game live and failing miserably, let me know. And yeah, thank you once again, Ubisoft, for sending me the key. I highly appreciate it. I hope you guys learned a bit about the game. And I will see you in my next one. I'm your captain. Have a good one. Bye bye.